I thought this film sucked ass. Go ahead, let the flames commence. When all this shit happens. Now that you have a world where the Avengers are real, call them. Make a phone call. Just at the end credits, yeah, Bruce Banner. And I'm like, okay, why the fuck didn't you call Bruce Banner and say, hey, Hulk dude, come over here and kick some ass? This big portion, I'm like, is this even an Iron Man movie? It's an Iron Man movie, no Iron Man. Hey, that's what people want. Well, that's what you don't get, because when that new Ninja Turtle movie comes out, there's not going to be any Ninja Turtles. Because you want to see Batman movies without Batman. Now you want to see Iron Man movies without Iron Man. I know. Shame on me. I know. I'm so greedy that I watch Iron Man 3 and I would like some Iron Man. I know. Does that make a goddamn good movie? But this movie goddamn sucks.
Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the video? There's another paid request. It's time for B McB. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of topic, commentary, reaction, review, re-review, updated thoughts, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for Iron Man 3 from 2013. And I'm still not a fan of this movie. If you are, that's cool. This is the start to me of, I mean, after it, at least I like Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange. I think the Captain America trilogy is better than the Iron Man trilogy, but this is a point of falter for me for Marvel. And the last 5 movies of Marvel pretty much are been films that are absolutely awful. And sure, I'll take Iron Man 3 over Doctor Strange 2 or The Eternals or Captain Marvel. Sure. But it is a disappointing end to a trilogy because other than Civil War, he'd be in the Avengers films and Robert Downey Jr. would get killed off at the end. Granted, in a nice, powerful moment for his character. Number one, when this film coming out and you have the advertisements, it was promoted to be a lot darker. You watch the trailers, it seemed more serious, and the Mandarin was a serious threat, and all this stuff is going to be about, the darkest of the movies, more serious. No, it's a lot more goofy than you would think, with the little boy character and some of the stuff Jon Favreau was given to do, and at times it feels like it wants to be a Lethal Weapon film with the banter between him and Don Cheadle. And Don Cheadle does a good job, but I would just prefer them being in a separate movie of their own, away from the Iron Man mythology. The villains, the way that was handled, I thought was a misinterpretation of... I can't see the source material because I'm not a guy that grew up with the Iron Man comics, but I perfectly understand why people got mad, and I sympathize with them. I'll get to that in a few minutes. Yes, I know many of these films, you don't have the guy in the costume a lot. What makes Iron Man is Tony Stark. But at the same time, when you get into a third film, yes, you kind of do want to see a little bit more of Iron Man, not a lot less. And that's what happens here. I get it. He's not going to be on screen for the entire 2-hour running time. Although it's one of the reasons I like The Batman, is they did that with Robert Pattinson. I thought that was kind of refreshing. But I get that, but there was so little of it. It might as well not have been called Iron Man 3. It might have been called Tony Stark PI, or the Stark some TV show from back in the day. Cue the 70s theme. And altogether, I thought this film was boring. And this comes from a guy that could watch Iron Man 2. I thought this film was fairly boring. I thought it felt overlong. It begins with the blue man, I'm blue, dabba dee dabba da, dabba dee dabba da. I did for a movie that was advertising itself to be a bit darker. That's kind of a weird choice for a song. I mean, even the second film started off with some AC/DC, and you went from I'm Blue. Guy Pearce, I said it before, I'll say it again. When we first see him, he reminds you so much of Edward Nygma, Jim Terry's character from Batman Forever. With the way he's dressed, with his hair, his glasses, his demeanor, being a big fanboy of Tony Stark, just like Edward Nygma was a big fanboy of Bruce Wayne, and then his turn. I should not be reminded of Jim Terry from Batman Forever. And from the aspects of the PTSD, which in this case is from the first Avengers film of going into the vortex, the portal. I get where they're going with it. He is suffering from nightmares. That's why he's making all these multiple machines and Iron Man, and he's testing armor. Even though it seemed like he had better armor in previous films, does this armor will like break away very quickly? That's a weird thing. Why is it that the armor in the previous films seemed better made than this? Is that supposed to be another example of PTSD? Is that he's not making armor as well as he could? Or I don't even understand this whole thing with injecting himself for this armor to come to him. In the first Avengers, he was thrown out a window by Loki, and less than 30 seconds it went and covered him up with armor. He had little suitcases, Iron Man 2, that he could create armor. So I guess they just want to do something a bit different. And the PTSD I don't think is as consistent as the filmmakers wanted it to be. Because I don't remember him suffering PTSD in... Was Iron Man 2 before or after the Avengers? I'm trying to think. It was before. Because he talked with Nick Fury. So that was before. And then this is after. Because Avengers of 2012 is 2013. So I'll take back the consistent argument. But it's one of those... In the comic books, I did know about this. A very interesting aspect was his alcoholism. And because it's Disney, they don't want to put alcoholism for one of our heroes. I think that was a mistake. Because that's something that people can relate to. It's a real problem, and it's something you can sympathize with. And it's something that a guy can overcome, obviously. And there's a lot for Robert Downey Jr. to play off as. You know, he's a party... I mean, you even saw a little bit of him getting too drunk in Iron Man 2. And I think that could have been employed more in the third movie. But that wasn't the case here. Because the idea that people suffer PTSD for a variety of reasons. But something about the way it played out here, it just didn't ring true to me. I know this sounds stupid. Maybe because this is a guy that was kidnapped by terrorists, ready to be tortured in a cave in the first Iron Man film. That seemed more like a PTSD situation than the Avengers. That's just my look at it. Maybe if that was a part of it, and this was the one that broke the camel's back, the straw that broke it, I could understand. I mean, after the first Avengers, there's the end credit scene where they're eating shawarma and that type of food. I don't know, the PTSD is obviously meant to replace the alcoholism, and I just felt that was much more of a potent storyline for Tony Stark. That's just the way I looked at it. If people disagree, that's fine. And also, amidst the plot, War Machine, played by Don Cheadle, has now been turned to the Iron Patriot. Tony starts having more PTSD attacks. He's talking with Don Cheadle, and a little boy comes up and goes, "Did you see that? You know, the portal? Did you see the vortex?" And he freaks out. And yeah, the way it was played out with the little kid that he himself said reminds him of A Christmas Story, and all this stuff, it just... Something about that made it laughable to me. I don't know quite how else to word it. I went, what the fuck? So he's having panic attacks. There's this extremist group led by the Mandarin dealing with terrorism. Anytime after the Avengers, there's always going to be the question of why don't you call one of the Avengers? Why don't you call Captain America? Why don't you call Nick Fury? Why don't you call Bruce Banner? I mean, Bruce Banner shows up at the end credits sleeping for a goofy joke. But, I mean, there's no explanation of why can't we get the other people to help. And that's always going to be the catch-22 when you brought in the Avengers and brought them all together. And you see that they're all in the same group. Well, why don't you call this guy? Why don't you call this person? Why don't you call this person? Granted, you just say the same thing in the comic books, to be fair. And that's a valid point. And then he gets pissed off because Jon Favreau, which during this flashback to, what was it, 1999, when he first meets Guy Pearce, there's like an explosion that happens, a good 20 seconds come by, and then Jon Favreau tackles Robert Downey Jr. Talk about delayed reaction. But there's a point where he follows this person, and their living bomb blows up. Favreau gets very, very hurt, and now Tony Stark is very pissed. Now, I don't mind the idea of the bad guys. Veterans who are missing limbs, they're used as test subjects, and become these human bombs where their skin's almost as if it's made of lava. I don't mind that idea. But then when that mixed in with comedy, you're trying to have Christmas stuff in it, because it's Shane Black, so you gotta have Christmas stuff in it. And then, like, the kid and the guy, Tony Stark trying to deal with this little kid and all this other stuff, I don't think it really fit all together the best. And then you have the characters doing really stupid shit. The big one I thought of back in the day, I think of today much more so. The motherfucker goes out to the news, the press, and tells the Mandarin, if you want me, here's my address. Blah, 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 blah. Come and get me. Even though you know Gwyneth Paltrow was there, and she always stopping by, and other people stopping by, you give the bad guy, asshole, extremist terrorist your home address. And this is after all the stuff he's been through. This is after all the experience he's been through. That's the dumbest crap ever. Come the fuck on, you douchebag dick licker. What the fuck do you think you're doing? And that's where you just lose, I don't want to say sympathy, but you just lose. If a guy has that, it'd be one thing if he did it drunk. And that's what a point. If he was in a drunken state of affairs, and he was getting drunk, and then he did it, because when you're that drunk, you can't stop yourself. At least some people can. And then that's one of the reasons why he wants to get on the bend, get off the wagon. Or get on the wagon, whatever the phrase is. That would be much more of a potent story. He's getting drunk because all this stuff is too much for him. I'm just a guy, a playboy. I'm trying to be a superhero. I've dealt with an alien invasion. He's drinking more and more. He comes out, he's drunk, he's slosh. Reporters, hey, you know, motherfucker. He didn't say motherfucker, but you know what? You want me? Here's my address. Blah, 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 blah. And then maybe he has a hangover and he realizes what he did. It's too late. Boom. Bad guys attack. How the hell could I do that? And that could be some decent drama of him trying to get sober. And you could do that with some laughs where he's making fun of himself. I'm not saying it has to be deadly, deadly fucking serious. I'm not saying it has to be David Fincher 7. But no, they don't want to do that. Instead, the place gets blown up, and then he escapes with Gwyneth Paltrow. His armor screws up. Which, again, with all the, like, test armor... like, he's testing all this other armor stuff. It comes to the play of... we find out at the end, to jump ahead, that he has like 50 Iron Man suits. Where did these come from? Because I think they said, but I completely forgot because I'm still thinking of the multitude of times these 50 Iron Man suits would have been a good point to use them. When you're shot down in the middle of nowhere and find a way to use these damn suits. When you're going to where you think the Mandarin, people say, well, then, yeah, he didn't have any communication, he didn't have any way, any transportation to get there, and then that's where he meets the little kid. Okay. But there's a point where he's going to what he thinks is the Mandarin's location. Once again, why would he not employ those 50 Iron Man suits that he has at the end of the film? Or there's a point where there's an airplane sequence with the president, William Sadler, from Die Hard 2, from Bill and Ted Boja's Journey as the Grim Reaper. Why don't we have the 50 Iron Man suits and have them all around the plane? And it seems like there's a lot of other times he could use these 50 suits, but we can't because we have to have that oh shit moment at the end where they all come into play. But hey, well, you know. And then a lot of his, Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor. He could be funny, he could be dramatic. I get that he is what makes Iron Man. But he himself said that him and the suit are the same. So yeah, I would at least, when he's as Tony Stark, have maybe something on his arm with the repulsor rays, or he has a little bit of gear here, so he has the thing in the middle, chest plate. Like little bits here and there. You want to show the face fine, but at least have some equipment instead of just being MacGyver and stuff. And I'm like, I hate to say it, but that's not really why a lot of people watch an Iron Man movie. They know they can't get it 24/7. They know they can't get it for every minute of the 2 hours, but they want to see more of that, and you don't get a lot of that in the movie. Like, you don't get a lot of that great... Like, even Iron Man 2 had that, with him showcasing with AC/DC music, or him getting drunk with Don Cheadle, and that little fight, or... Like, that scene with Mickey Rourke on the racetrack worked well, with him dodging, and then he gets that suit, Iron Man. Yeah. That was still Robert Downey Jr. employing himself as Tony Stark and using his wits. Using the mirror image to get out of the way from the weaponry that Mickey Rourke was showcasing. But they also give the audience what they want with the Iron Man stuff. They do want to see some of that. That's like making an alien film, but with 10 minutes of aliens in it. So he meets the little kid, and the little kid, I didn't care about the little kid. I didn't care about him having a child sidekick. I don't think it was needed. I don't know what Shane Black's fascination with that, because he did the same thing in The Predator with having the little kid, only this one has Asperger's, so we can make the fucking joke, I'm hungry for Asperger's. And he's special on the spectrum, so he's a superpower and predators want it. I don't know what his fascination was. Shane Black's like, well, I did it once for Iron Man 3, let me do it again with the Predator. No. Okay, it's not Newt from Aliens, okay? It doesn't work. And I did not give a rat's ass about the kid. I didn't give a rat's ass about any of this stuff. There's literally in the middle, from when I first saw it and doing it again, where I'm going, what movie am I watching? I mean, if I didn't know any better, it could be a sequel to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Where's Val Kilmer? It just didn't work for me. I wasn't that excited by it. Still mad at Tony Stark's stupidity for giving his home address away. Gwyneth Paltrow is really there to be what? Almost fucked up by an Iron Man suit because of Tony Stark's nightmare. Oh, we have to have him injected so that when it to lead to that scene where he accidentally brought the armor to Gwyneth Paltrow. At times, it was predictable. This is one girl who has a past with Tony Stark, and I'm like, she's a bad guy, isn't she? When I first saw it, I predicted it. And it was. I remember saying back to the day, I was bullshitting. I guessed it. I was bullshitting. I was kidding. And this girl has a past with Tony Stark and blah, blah, blah. Because that also reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises, which had come out not too long ago. Like the year or so before. And that also had Talia come back. Old past with Bruce Wayne. Oh, she's a bad guy. Obviously, if you know the comics, you would know that, but I'm like, well, they don't do the same thing, and they did. I'm sorry, your film should not be making me think of The Dark Knight pisses. Now, are there good things about it? Robert Downey Jr. not doing a bad job acting-wise. Don Cheadle is rather good in it. The bit of banter between the two of them when they're on screen together works rather effectively, rather well. I would have just preferred a movie with the two of them and a buddy movie or a buddy cop type of movie, which I think is more Shane Black's forte. Not this stuff. I just don't think this is Shane Black's forte. Writing or direction wise. Last Boy Scout, Lethal Weapon. I like The Nice Guys. Not everyone does, but I like The Nice Guys. That's more your forte, Shane Black. That's more your calling. Not this, not The Predator. And then we get to Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, and you find out that he's an actor. I get where they're going for the swerve, for the twist. I did not read the comics, so I can't say I was so pissed. No. I was indifferent. But the way Ben Kingsley was handling himself, although he did sound a bit like Walter Cronkite, that's the way it is. Just his manner, his voice delivery as the Mandarin. Well, that's the way what you grumble. It's like fucking Walter Cronkite. But I get why people were pissed. If people who did know this character, did know this villain, was finally getting to see it on the big screen, this thing with the 10 rings and all that stuff, they were very intrigued by it. I get that. I truly do get that. Because it would be like doing a Ninja Turtles live action film. And you finally bring in, for live action format, Leatherhead. But then you find out it was an actor in a suit doing a monster movie. And so you think it's this sinister being as oh, it's just an actor in a suit. What? So technically you got Leatherhead, but not really. I would be just as pissed as people were about the Mandarin. So I totally get it. I absolutely understand. I get the swerve. I get the idea behind it. Again, if it was his own movie and not from Iron Man mythology and background, if it was his own movie where you have a terrorist and there's an actor and again, a action buddy cop movie, I think it would work better in that. And again, it's the advertising selling you one movie and tricking you. If people were sold on the movie to see the film, to see the Mandarin played by Ben Kingsley be this intimidating figure that's going to conquer all and be the second coming to mean the fucking merciless, you were sold that bill of goods, you get there, and they said, fuck you, psych. Why would you not think audience would be pissed? Let's say going to McDonald's to get a burger, psych. Sushi. I don't want fucking sushi. Well, you better be happy because there's a swerve. No, I want what the fuck. Some people want what the fuck they paid for. When they paid their ticket. You have the scene with the airplane, which Iron Man saves people by letting them form a barrel of monkeys. And I'm sitting there going, where are your 50 Iron Man suit? All of them could fly up and rescue all these people. Again, if you had made a plan with the 50 suits hovering or nearby, rescue everybody. But no. Instead, this barrel of monkeys and something about the action scene didn't. The only bit I liked was there's a villain who Tony Stark blasts. Let's blast a big old hole through his fucking head, or chest, I should say, and goes, walk away from that, you son of a bitch. I like that moment. But the whole thing with the linking people up like the barrel monkeys toys. I'm like, where are your other suits? That come in and rescue everybody. I mean, hell, you could think it could lead up to an Iron Man 2 with the drones and all the drones being controlled. Maybe Tony Stark go, maybe I could use that. Controlling like 50 of them? Which is kind of what happens at the end, but he doesn't use it in this scene for some reason. One that leads to another. They find out what's going on. Guy Pearce is the bad guy. He's the real Mandarin. You get a big CGI battle fest, and you know, sometimes watching these big CGI battle fests, you just get tired of it. You just gets old. It gets a gloss over it where there are movies I enjoy that do that. Yes, granted, but sometimes you just that's not what brought me to the dance in terms of action films or action filmmaking. Was watching CGI battle fests. And they might be high price special CGI effects, but it's still in the back of my head. I know it's not really there, and there's a disconnection with it, and that's why yes, there are some examples that I enjoy that. I do, but on this monotonous, continuous state of affairs, again and again and again with most of these Marvel films, it gets old, and it gets old quick. I can't feel any tension because nothing on screen is real. The only bit I liked in the finale was a bit of Don Cheadle getting some stuff to do, because I do think he's a good actor. I like the idea of Tony Stark finally getting to the Iron Man suit, going to another one, getting to one suit if that one breaks, and so on and so forth. I do like that idea, and seeing all the different designs of the Iron Man suits. But that's also he did Gwyneth Paltrow, and she gets you think killed, but she's infected with this extremist, and then she kills. Which hell, that reminded me of the Dark Knight Rises as well. When Catwoman comes out of the blue and kills fucking Bane, Gwyneth Paltrow comes out and kills Guy Pearce. I'm like, they must have really been a big fan of the Dark Knight Rises. And like I said, that's not the fucking film to take comparisons with and inspiration from, at least to me. And then at the end of the film, he tears himself. He did take this thing out, which seems a bit easier than it should have been. At least that's just my opinion. And that's kind of the big chunk of the character, is this ongoing fear of whether the stain in his chest will be his undoing or not. Well, yeah, you get rid of that, so now he doesn't have that anymore. That's what I mean. The whole not tear, but getting sober. I think that storyline would have been much stronger and much more not only relatable, but could have offered some nice character moments and nice heartfelt moments. Moments of Downey Jr. Will he keep being sober? Will he one day succumb to the demon in the bottle? Nope, we don't want to do any of that because it's Disney, and we're Disney. Disney. Fuck Minnie Mouse, fuck Mickey Mouse, fuck Disney. Alright? And even action sequence wise, I wasn't really satisfied with the action sequences. Maybe a bit in the Mandarin where he's trying to do this and the pieces are not coming yet, and then when he does and he kicks a bit of ass. Maybe that scene there. But there's a lot of good amount of time without any action, and it just came off as rather boring. I know I'm not looking for a Michael Bay ADD type of movie, but just the first Iron Man isn't that. But I thought it had a bit of a stronger story, and I thought it was a bit more consistent in its tone. And this, on the other hand, made a lot of money, made over $1 billion, got praise from critics, as most Marvel films did, and still do. So just advertising a darker movie, but making more of a goofy film. The action scenes are not really as standout as they could have been. Hell, I enjoyed the ending in Iron Man 2 more than this. The villains are a bit lacking. You either lie to an audience about the Mandarin, which pissed a lot of people off who were fans of it. I didn't understand. I gave that example of the Leatherhead. Or Guy Pearce, wannabe Enigma. I mean, he even cleaned himself up just like Jim Carrey cleaned himself up later in Bound Forever. Showmanship. Gwyneth Paltrow's really given nothing to do until, hey, you get a superpower too, because we feel sorry for you. At least for a little bit. The kid was annoying, didn't give a shit about the kid. I think the alcoholism would have been much better than the PTSD angle. Giving out your home address is stupid as fuck. You get the Darwin Award, you brainiac, dumb fucking butt fucking piece of shit. Dumb fuck. Questions like why, where, I get that he was building all these machines, but you have like 50 Iron Men. Don't you think there's multiple times those could have been fucking used? And of course the question, where are the other Avengers? What's going on? I mean, you have Bruce Banner at the end credits. Why didn't you try to call him, at least as another scientist, if not just for Hulk, but as a scientist? Or Captain America, or any other fucking person. Nick Fury. But again, what do you want? To call everybody in every movie? I get that. But maybe that's why comics and movies are definitely a different medium. You'll use one, but the other makes you question more. It's like video games. You won't question something in the video game, but if they did the same thing in the movie, you go, what? It's just different mediums. Iron Turd 3 just wasn't for me. Is it the worst Marvel film? No, sadly, films like Captain Marvel and Thor 3, Love and Blunder, and fucking Doctor Strange 2. There's a lot of movies that take in that place, but I'm still not a fan of this movie. If you are, teach their own. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.